Welcome back, YouTube. I took a hind quarter out the freezer today, and I put it in the hole. So I took it out and went ahead and cut it up into chunks. And don't ask me to name these chunks of beef, because I know you got the bottom round, outside cut, sirloin, different things. I think this is the center cut here. Where the camera's at there. I think that's the center cut. This piece here, you can either cut it up into little chunks for frying, and it'll be tender, or you can slice it down the middle, stuff it with something, things you want to stuff it with, and then wrap it in bacon and put it on the grill with it wrapped with bacon, and it's good. But I'm not going to use this piece today. I'm going to try to cook a stew, venison stew. But this is another good chunk of meat off the hind quarter. But like I say, I'm just used to cutting them. I'm not used to knowing the names of them. But this is the one I'm going to be cutting off of. But I throw this hind quarter out today. Got it sliced up. Now this over here, this is some of your tougher meat. Now this is good for putting in the slow cooker, letting it cook overnight, and then baking it, or because it is tough. And then you got your tougher piece here that comes off that back muscle. That's, you can also put that in the slow cooker, let it cook overnight till it gets tender. But I'm gonna go ahead and this little piece here was just an extra piece I cut off where I'd miscut. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut this up into some little cubes and try to get us a deer stew started. And while we're waiting on the election results and all that, hope everybody got to get out and vote today. My mom, she's 90 years old. She hadn't been out the house in, I know, a month or over a month. But when I was going out today for me to vote, I saw my brother pulling in the ramps at her house where she can get in and out. She got ramps built up the side where she can use her walker. And I stopped and asked him, and he says, "I'm picking up Mama." Said she's determined she's going to vote. She's 90 years old, and she was determined she was going in person to vote today, and she went, COVID or no COVID. And I hope everybody got out to vote, whoever you voted for. It's our right to vote, to get out there and make our selection. Our vote, that's one thing. It don't matter how much money the other people have or how much they have, or how much better they look than some of us look or whatever. Our vote counts just as much as anybody else's vote. We may not win the election, but at least we'll be voted, and that's our right. And other people say that, I don't know why this state votes or that state votes, because the other states are going to override us and our votes don't make any difference. But it's our right and it's our privilege to get out there and vote, and that's one reason why we should. Because our vote, I don't care if a man has $1 million and I only have 50. When it comes to voting, my vote counts just as much as his does. But anyhow, whatever candidate you vote for or whatever, get out and vote. But anyhow, by the time I get this on there, the election may be over. But that was just one of the things that I thought on today. I said, that's one thing we can do, that no matter what, that we equal to somebody else, no matter what we have or anything, or the color of our skin, or anything else, that ours matters just as much as anybody else, and that's our vote. Anyhow, I'm going to get to cutting this up. Sorry I went off on a different thing there for a minute, but I'm going to get to cutting this up, and then we can start putting it on and cooking. This is just one of the ways I do it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cut these two pieces into something like 1-inch chunks. But this part here and this little piece here, I'd miscut on that piece, but they are good for also roasts. They're not too tough, but I'll even cut these pieces up into frying also. I love fried deer meat. That's mainly the way I eat mine. But I'm going to go ahead and cut them up into some 1-inch chunks to do a stew. One of the ways I make mine. There's so many different ways to make stews. That so many people got so many different ways they do it, but I'm gonna just do one of them here this evening while we getting ready to see how the election results turn out. I doubt that we'll know who the winner is tonight. I would doubt. We might, but all we can do is wait and see. Make sure and cut these cross grain, and then I'll cut them again with the grain when I go to dicing it up again into little chunks. And some of that I might want to cut out, throw to the side, and get it out that other bowl directly. I'm going to go ahead and get all this, but all I'm doing is cutting it up into little 1-inch chunks. Alright, I had it cubed up into 1-inch chunks, around 1-inch chunks. I wasn't perfect on it. I was putting me some vegetable oil and some grease over there. Let me some vegetable oil in the pan. That kid got me, I can't think. But I got some vegetable oil in the pan over there, and I'm going to sear it for a minute. Let it sear a little bit. Now the wifey used to yell at me about dicing my potatoes up this way. But this is the way I've always done it. I've always pulled that knife blade back next to my thumb. And I can tell about how much pressure I got before it gets close to my thumb. And I may be doing it wrong, but I did it this way all my life. I hope I don't mess up one of these days and split my thumb. But anyhow, I'm dicing up these potatoes into little cubes, getting them ready. Anyhow, YouTube, when the wifey, me and her we chatted on live chat for a long time. And she'd always see me cutting up my onions and stuff like that. And she said, "You not have a butcher knife?" I said, "Yeah, I got a butcher knife." And she said, "No, that's the wrong kind of butcher knife to be using to cut up onions and stuff." She said, "You need something level where you can chop, 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 chop." I said, "No, I don't think so." She said, "You don't have a bolo." I said, "A bolo?" She said, "Yeah, a bolo is similar. Some of them are smaller, like a butcher knife or something." Well, this is a butcher knife like she was talking about. They more they thicker, the where you can chop, 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 and they more balanced. Got the thicker blade on them, more balanced and stuff, and chop, 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 chop. I said, "No." I says, "Look, I'm a man that's doing this cooking." I said, "The only thing I got here besides this knife, this butcher knife, is this." And I said, "I'll be dogged if I'm doing any chopping with this machete because I might not have no. I'll be having finger stew instead of having. I said. She says, "My Lord," she says, "what a bolo that is." I said, "There ain't no bolo." I said, "That's a machete there." But anyhow, just thought I'd throw that in there. I get these onions here diced up. Dice up some of this bell pepper. And you got no celery. Put celery in it. What do you mean, Nadine? Yeah, you put celery in it, bell pepper, carrots, any kind of vegetables, whatever you want to put. There's so many different ways to make a venison stew. It's just according to what you want to put in it. And I'm going to get this here diced up. We'll be back. Alright, I got half a cup of water in there. Now what I'm going to do is mix about half flour. Then I'll make a paste. Let's mix it up and I'll make a good thick paste there. Get it mixed good where it won't have any lumps in it. A little bit more flour. Anyhow, all I'm doing is mixing this to get all the lumps out. About a half and half mixture. Then I'll show you what I do with it directly. Alright, I let it cook in the oil a little bit, the cubes of venison. And then I added some water to it and I just let it boil about an hour and a half. Try to tenderize it some. And we can start adding our other stuff to it now. Go ahead and put some salt in here where that salt can dissolve in there while it's cooking. Put some red pepper. Not too much red pepper, and you ain't got to put red pepper if you don't want it. Like I say, there's so many different ways to make this. I don't know where my black pepper is. Let me find it. Let's put a little bit of black pepper in there. I don't get it too spicy because if I do, the wifey and them won't eat it. But man, once you, steam come up out of it. But once you start putting that pepper in there, you can smell it then. Wait till I add them onions. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add my celery. No, not my celery, my bell pepper. Add my onion, potatoes. I'm gonna let them simmer a little while. I'll turn the oven down some, and I'll cover them with the lid. Just let them simmer for a while. But if you want to add celery is what I was thinking about. If you want to go ahead and add some celery to it, or string beans, or whatever type of vegetables you want to add in there, go ahead and add it in there now, because it won't take these potatoes but like 10 minutes of simmering to cook. And I'll show you in a minute what I had mixed the flour and the water for. But I'm gonna go ahead and cover this with the lid. Let that simmer for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll go ahead and add the other stuff. That's kind of a little bit of a simmer there, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the onions in now. paste I made with the flour and the water, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there also where it can simmer. Because what this could do is while it's simmering, it's going to thicken up the gravy. So that's what I added it for. Because that flour, as it cooks, will go ahead and simmer through that, and it'll make the gravy thicker. And it's according to how big of a pot you got as to how much flour and stuff you want to add in there. But you can see the little piece of the flour kind of floating around. That's why I mashed it up much as I could in the glass. But now I'm going to let it simmer, and as it simmers, it'll come all apart and make that gravy thicker. Well, YouTube, we did have some carrots. I found some carrots in the can under there and some string beans. So we can go ahead and pour them in there. If I'd have known we had carrots, I'd have put them in there before I put the potatoes in there. I don't care a whole lot about carrots, but a lot of people like them. But we could go ahead and put that in there. We could go ahead and add our string beans. Let all of it be simmering. Go ahead and add this string beans in there. This should be the last thing I have to add in there. Wished I'd known we had the string beans and the carrots earlier, but I didn't look under the cabinet. And we can go ahead and mix this in good. And you can see it, since I put that flour in there, that's starting to turn the juice kind of brown. And it's starting to thicken up some, but we can let it simmer. Let it get good and thick and get them potatoes done. Like I say, them carrots and string beans come out the can, so they should be pretty much not have to cook much. Anyhow, YouTube, by the time I got this video here and got the stew finished cooking, the polls are closed, and now they in there going through the states and telling what the results is that they come in. But this is how the stew turned out. Get some of that meat out of there. All the meat must have kind of sank down some, but there's plenty of deer meat in there. But anyhow, that's the way the stew turned out there. And that's just one of the many ways to cook it. You can cook it also, you can use tomato juice. I've seen it cooked in tomato juice before. I've used tomato juice and cooked it before. There's just so many ways to cook a venison stew that you can cook it all kind of different ways. But anyhow, the polls and all that have closed, where we go in there and sit down and watch the election. But 4 years from now or 2 years from now, when they have the next elections, be sure to get out there and vote. I mean, it's one of the things we do, and we have the privilege to get out there and do it, vote for who we want to, put whoever in county council and all that, in our counties and stuff, and just so many different things. But anyhow, this is one of the styles of the venison stew that I make. I hope you enjoyed, and anyhow, I'm gonna go in here and sit down and eat, and watch the election results. Till then, I'll see you the next time out there, YouTube.